society right now where largely that's what the people have been taught. You know, they've been taught that, I guess you call it climate change, right? You're supposed to call it climate change. What was it before? It was oh yeah. What was it? Not climatic shift, because that was there was a time when it was climatic shift too. It was, what was it? Oh boy, they shifted so much. It's kind of hard to keep track and remember, right? Because they change it so often. It was global warming, right? And if you remember before that, if you're older than me, you might even remember when they had global cooling. So this has been an ongoing thing they've been doing, changing the narrative around what's actually happening with climate so that you don't actually know what's going on. I guess it's the concept of keep them guessing, right? Keep them guessing. Keep them guessing, keep them separated. Don't give them any real reason to actually be able to comprehend that they should focus on the serious issues that are facing them on the day-to-day basis. So that's something that we really need to talk about. But we can't talk about it, at least not normally, because they won't let you talk about it. If you start talking about it, either they'll tell you you're a crazy person for trying to say something about climate change, or you are a crazy person because what you're saying about climate change isn't accurate. It's just some stuff that they told you. Maybe it was Al Gore, maybe it was Greta Thunberg, but it was somebody told you some crazy stuff, and now you're here all believing it all of a sudden. Now, I want to apologize to anybody that's listening to us on YouTube or online on X or Rumble or wherever right now. We are having a little bit of camera difficulties. The camera won't quite be at the angle that we want it to be at, but we're still here, and I hope you can hear us clear. While I'm saying that, I encourage anybody watching us online, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share, so that way more people can know that we've got a good show here and we're out there really speaking some truth to what's going on in the world, especially in America. Now, if you guys would like to advertise on the show, please reach out to me. You can send me an email, marcuswilliams222@outlook.com. That's marcuswilliams222@outlook.com. Or you can catch me on social media somewhere, everywhere. I'm all over the place. I'm on YouTube, the Marcus C. Williams channel. You'll see the show broadcasts on there, as well as Rumble, the Marcus C. Williams channel. And you'll find me on X. I'm on there. It's Marcus, the number 4, Rod, and it's Marcus, the number 4, ROC. You'll find me. I'm not hard to find on there, and I'm all over Facebook. Marcus C. Williams for Rochester, Marcus Williams. You'll find me on there. But if you want to advertise, let me know. And we're about to get in and on with the show. So please like, share, subscribe. And if you want to definitely donate or you want to sponsor the show, reach out to us in an email, marcuswilliams222@outlook.com. Now, let's move forward with the show. As we're talking about the heat outside, I tell you what, you remember a couple years ago, maybe it was even last year, I think it was last year, where they had all of the fires and they polluted all of the skies, and they were telling us that it was the Canadian wildfires, even though Canada has wildfires every year, and it had never been like that before. And the smoke was just covering all parts of the country. Up here in upstate New York, it was really very bad. And they were saying that it was the smoke, right? Now there are questions whether it was real smoke or not real smoke, because right around that time, before the fires started, we had these really interesting patterns of fog, right? Like it was some real serious, crazy looking fog that was just so happening automagically. And that was really weird and interesting and kind of intriguing, but not in a good way. Now today, as it's so hot outside, as the beginning of this heat wave goes on, you can look outside and you can see there is like a, I don't know what you would call it, maybe a fog, a haze, a smoke outside on essentially ground level. Now I don't know how high it goes into the atmosphere. I'm not that tall. I'm Marcus height, right? So I'm not like the 2,000 foot tall man. I'm not able to see that high. But it's very clearly an interesting effect that's not like something you'd witness normal during haziness of heat and summer and stuff like that. So the question is, with all of these projects that are going on across our country and across the world of, what are they calling it now? Geoengineering, which we used to just call that weather control. But now it's called geoengineering. Remember they used to tell people, the government controls the weather. People like, no, you're a crazy person. But they do have this technology to control the weather. And in certain states, including Texas, they have a whole department to actually do that. It's crazy. And then people will tell you, oh, no, there's no weather manipulation. But Bill Gates will get on the TV like, yeah, we're going to block out the sun. We're going to spray a whole bunch of stuff in the clouds so we can block out the sun. Are you crazy? Are you really crazy? What do you mean you're going to block out the sun? What type of a megalomaniacal, crazy person, evil villain from some sort of a movie or TV series are you? But this is real. And they're really trying to do this. They really are doing it. I shouldn't say trying, they're actively doing it. But can we talk about that? Can we have those type of conversations? Those are important conversations to have. They done genetically engineered these mosquitoes so that they breed with other mosquitoes and the other mosquitoes die off. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't trust any genetically engineered anything. I don't even trust bioengineered or genetically modified food. I'm not with it. I don't want none. Okay, make it the way that nature had it was supposed to be. Don't go around messing with nature because people have too much hubris. They'll be doing whatever they want in nature, back, forth, and forward, and that's exactly against God and against nature. Why are you messing with stuff that you don't know anything about? And then the hubris of man is that we know so much, we're so great, we're so powerful that we can control all of nature. Look at us make nature bend to our whims. Man, if you don't get that nonsense out my face, look at it like this, right? They took these mosquitoes, they genetically engineered the mosquitoes. The conversation was that they wanted to genetically engineer millions of mosquitoes so that if they bred with other mosquitoes that are able to carry certain diseases like malaria or what's the other one? Not dengue, Ebola, right? Like we have a problem with Ebola in the United States, but we're not going to talk about that because Ebola has never been on this continent until these crazy so-called medical people decided to bring it here. Why would you bring a virus to a country that it's never been in? Why would you do that? Anyway, so the concept was to make it so that if the mosquitoes bred with the other mosquitoes, it would prevent the other mosquitoes from reproducing and they die off. Now, I'm not a big fan of mosquitoes, okay? I feel about mosquitoes like Theodore Roosevelt felt about them in Panama, okay? They all got to go. Okay, that's how I really feel. But I recognize that they are a very serious integral part of healthy ecosystems in many parts of the world. And when I say many parts, I mean most ecosystems. They play a crucial role. Now, that being said, whereas I'm not very fond of them, it doesn't mean that I don't know that they're important. But these people that know so much better than us, that know so much better than nature, are out here doing all types of stuff to mess with nature that they don't have any business messing with nature. Nature didn't ask for your help. Nature was doing just fine. The only reason why we have so many issues right now is because when they keep messing with different things in nature, they mess everything up. It's like when you go to the doctor, right? The doctor, you say, oh, doctor, I've got X pain wherever, you know? And they're like, okay, here, take this medicine. And then you come back later, oh, doctor, now the medicine that you've given me is making me drowsy. I can't stay awake. And the doctor's like, okay, here, take this other medicine. And you're like, oh, no, doctor, now this medicine that you have is giving me digestive problems. Oh, no, doctor, now I got headaches. And the pattern completely continues forever and ever, essentially, right? And that's with medications. But we see the same type of situation go on when they put all this type of stuff, chemicals and poisons into the atmosphere, into the environment, when they get out here and they genetically mutate animals and plants, when they get out here and they move plants and animals from other parts of the world that they ain't got no business being somewhere else. Now we got all these invasive species of bugs and all types of craziness. Where I am, we got lantern flies, lantern bugs, whatever they call them, one of them two. Okay, that eat up all the fruit, right? In California, they got the Asian hornets. Both of these bugs come from China. Now, I'm not saying that it's biological, ecological warfare, but it's biological, ecological warfare. They were put here on purpose. The same thing with the lionfish and the other invasive species like they've got in Florida, or the ones that they've got up here, because how these crazy Asian fish get up here in northeastern lakes. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. It's sabotage. It's ecological sabotage. It's warfare. And it's so disgusting that we can't even have a real conversation about it. Makes you want to spit. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, make sure that you drink plenty of water and stay hydrated, because it is hot out there. Even though I did hear that it's raining and snowing in many places across the nation where it shouldn't be. Drink water. So, with that being said, these mosquitoes, right, have been released in Florida and released in California. So they're making their way across the country. Now, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Lyme disease and ticks, but there have been multiple lawsuits against the United States of America and the military because they did, like, nobody knows where Lyme disease comes from, right? Like, you can't really find Lyme disease in nature. Like, that's not a thing. It's like, what was that disease that they had in what's that show? The not Lord of the Rings. Oh my goodness! Don't get mad at me out there, y'all, because I know you guys are gonna be like, "Oh, he's trying to combine the lore of the two different stories." No. What is it? Dang it! The one with the dragons. You know, the ones with Khaleesi and all of that stuff. What's that show called? That series called? Why is it escaping me right now? I don't know. Well, anyway, you guys know the one I'm talking about, with Rob Snow and the Starks and all of that. Anyway, whatever it's called, it's escaping me right now. Maybe because it's hot. But anyway, it's like the grayscale that they would get in that show, right? Like, nobody really knows how people actually originally get it, and they don't know why certain people aren't infected by it and stuff like that. But here with this situation with the ticks, is Lyme disease didn't used to exist. It didn't, and ticks didn't used to carry it. So the ticks were genetically engineered by the military, and there are tests behind this that you can still find the documentation on today, okay, declassified documents, that they were testing with Lyme disease and ticks to try to use it for warfare purposes. And I guess what happens with incompetence and negligence, or even intentionality, is they probably just let the ticks loose, and they were using them to experiment on some town in the middle of wherever, backwoods, to see what would happen to people, because our military and our government has a history of doing these type of crazy tests on the American populace. So when next time that somebody tells you that the government wouldn't do that, oh yes, they would. Okay, so, but that's neither here nor there. The fact is that the government has been sued over this many times, and there are still cases ongoing about this. So can we just stop genetically engineering things, and especially insects and stuff like that, to carry diseases and stuff like that? Leave them alone. Nature's doing fine. You understand what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, we don't want people to get the West Nile virus and the Ebola and all of this. Nobody was getting that. Nobody was getting that. Like 10 people a year, nobody's getting that. And I know in certain cases I might be underestimating the numbers, but essentially nobody's getting it. 310 million people, nobody's getting those diseases. Ebola is just not a thing here. We don't get that. Dengue, who's getting dengue in the United States? Come on now, don't play in my face. Okay, dengue fever, if you guys aren't familiar with it, go look it up. But this is real. And it goes to the continued manipulation of the environment and how we can't talk about it. But they'll scream climate change, right? Climate change, climate change, climate change. One thing you never hear them talk about is how the stuff that they're pushing is impacting the environment. So these anti-carbon people now are talking about cutting down trees and burying them because that's going to sequester more carbon. You sound dumb. The tree is carbon. The tree takes the carbon out of the air. It uses it as the building blocks of its own life to help create oxygen for humanity and the rest of the animals and the fish in the seas and stuff like that. Are we being real right now? No, because we can't have a real conversation about that. It's so disgusting. It makes you want to spit, man. I tell you what. Man, listen. Let's talk about what's going on with our country right now and all of this warfare and stuff that's being pushed across the world. So, last week, the Russians sent like a frigate, a tugboat, a submarine, and I don't even think it was a destroyer. I think it was like one of the, whatever you call the class below a destroyer, ship down to Cuba. It's like 4 ships to go perform some naval exercises, and later on in the year they'll be part of a bigger naval exercise. But it's 4 ships that are like nothing ships, right? Like a tugboat. Ooh, big scary tugboat. Okay? A nuclear submarine. Because people will say nuclear submarine, and they want you to be scared about a nuclear submarine. Ain't nobody scared of a nuclear submarine because just because it's a nuclear submarine doesn't mean that it's carrying nukes. It's called a nuclear submarine because it's powered by nuclear fissile material. Fusile, not fissile. Fusile material. But we don't talk about the fact that a majority of our aircraft carriers are also powered by nuclear energy. Oh, why can't we talk about that? If we've got the ability to power subs and power battleships and stuff like that, aircraft carriers and all of that, with nuclear energy, and everybody's on the ship for months and months and months at a time, and everybody's fine and everything's dandy, sometimes years, okay, depending on what type of deployment you're on, and everybody's fine and stuff like that, how come we're not able to use more nuclear energy to produce the level of energy that we need in our society, instead of trying to talk about, oh, we're going to rely on solar or wind power, which takes a whole bunch more resources just to produce a lot less power than nuclear energy does. But can we talk about that? It's not even realistic. Now you see all of these car companies going towards hydrogen, because now hydrogen is a thing, because you can't really do anything with electric vehicles because you need to still produce that energy, and they're pushing the energy to come from the the solar panels and the wind panels, and that's just not able to produce enough high enough skill level of energy. We've got about 750,000 people in my county, maybe call it 725, give or take. And you right now, if we've already got one nuclear plant here, it's about 30 miles from where I live. It's been here since before I was born. And so everybody here that says it got something to say about nuclear, close your mouth. Okay? If you got something negative to say, because you've been living here and you didn't even know it was here. And it provides a great amount of our energy. So please zip it. Zip it. Okay? Now, this is a real good example of how if we were to take modern nuclear facilities and the designs like, let's say, Westinghouse or Samsung or Mitsubishi, and I'm just naming a couple of people who make these nuclear reactors. But Westinghouse has a couple really nice ones that I like. But if we were to take like 3 of the small modular nuclear reactors, we could power our whole county, 750,000 people. We can power the whole county. All the homes still have energy left over, and we can supply it to the other counties around us. But we can't have that conversation because everybody's wind, solar, it's green. It's not green. You know how all of those minerals and resources have to be mined? You know all the child labor that goes into that? You know all the terrible working conditions that happen, because none of that stuff is made in America. All that stuff's made in China and mined somewhere in Africa with child labor, children collapsing under crazy heat, not being able to eat, getting paid less than 10 cents a day. And we can't have that conversation though. Because the question is, are you really, really serious about the environment? No, they're not. They're fake greenies. And the fake greenies need to come around and see the error of their ways. I know some are true believers, so you won't be able to get them to change, but there are many that are just have been taught wrong and might be willing to hear. Maybe. I don't know, man. It's crazy. I think that natural gas is a good thing. You know, it's clean burning, easy and plentiful where we are, and we're not even using that as a resource because some people are like, oh, we've got to shut it down. Why do we got to shut it down? It doesn't even produce the carbon dioxide the way that you're talking about, like you're saying that it does. It's natural, clean burning. Oh, well, the methane gas, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then you ask them about the atmosphere. They'll be like, well, it's in the atmosphere. It's making it hotter. Who told you that? Lie. What tests have you seen that actually prove that that is a thing? You don't. Because there isn't. And because honestly, you can't really measure that type of stuff. But if you were even to try to do it in a closed environment, you quickly find out that that's not a real thing. That that's not how any of that works. And that you'd need so much of it, an overwhelming amount in the atmosphere to get any real actual changes to the atmosphere, that people would just suffocate and die, and the plants would just suffocate and die because there's so much methane in there. And that would happen before even the world started to heat up. You talk about carbon dioxide, we're making the least carbon dioxide that has ever been put in the environment in any period of ever in the history of recorded time, right? Like if you want to believe the science, right? Because you only believe the science when it's really convenient. If you want to believe the science, we can talk about the Cretaceous, the Triassic, whatever. All those other periods back then when there were far, far, far more, okay, carbon in the air. Plants were bigger. There was more oxygen too because there was more carbon, right? So there could be bigger plants, and because there was bigger plants, there were more oxygen. Because there was more oxygen, there were bigger animals. Oh no, perish the thought. Oh no. More carbon dioxide leads to bigger trees and bigger animals because the trees are making more oxygen. But can we actually have that conversation? Absolutely not. Back to this nonsense about Russia and these warships. We got these Russian warships. They try to press it up. Oh, it's a problem. It's a nothing burger, y'all. It's absolutely nothing. Those ships aren't harming nobody. They ain't hurting nobody. They can't bust a grape, as they say. It's ridiculous. And if you know anything about nuclear submarines, specifically the type that they've got there, the submarine has a range, I want to say it's like 1,400 miles or something like that, 1,900 miles, one of those two, that it can launch ballistic missiles from. Okay? So you're talking about, oh, it's in Cuba, it's right there near us. Man, that ship could hit us all the way in the middle of the Atlantic, okay, before we even knew it existed. You understand what I'm saying? They don't need to be in Cuba. And we wouldn't be stopping no ballistic missiles coming off in no submarine, no way. People really need to understand, and that's not even talking about most of the other types of missiles that submarines are armed with and stuff like that. You know, this is really, really serious and shows you the fear porn that's out there in the world right now, where they try to convince you that you should be afraid, you should be terrified, everything's going awry, it's going to be the end of the world. Man, boy, howdy, do they play in our faces. They really, really, really do. We're going to continue in a second here, but I want to thank you guys because you're listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. And if you're following us online on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, wherever you're finding us, Facebook, whatever, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Definitely like, definitely share, definitely subscribe, because that's how we can get out more information. That's how we grow the following. That's how more people find out about us. And that's how you can share and improve the community and our nation as a whole. It's not complicated. Just like, share, and subscribe. Okay, and if you're listening to us on the regular radio, make sure you let them know every Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. on Rochester Free Radio, 106.3 FM. We are here with The Divide, and we're going to jump right back into it. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you, if you want to advertise on the show, please email me, marcuswilliams222@outlook.com, and we'll make that happen. All right, let's get back into it. So we're here talking about this warfare and scariness and all of this stuff, right? So just Friday, yeah, today's Monday, right? Just Friday, real quick, I'm gonna drink some water. Drink water, say hi to it. Hydration. Anyway, so right now, Friday, they put a bill in the House of Representatives and it passed to make it, I want to say it's between 18 and 24, it might be 26, to do a mandatory draft, okay, to make everybody be eligible for a mandatory draft that is a man. What happened to women's equal rights? Equal rights, equal fights, right? Question mark, are we not doing that anymore? Is that not what's happening? What happens to transgender people? Do they not have to get recruited into the military? Do they not have to serve? It's just men, straight men. I feel like there's something wrong with that. Why aren't women being conscripted too? And you'll say, oh, well, Marcus, that's a very bold statement. I believe that it isn't. No. Equal rights, equal fights, period, and good night. Okay? Let's be real right now. This is a horrible, terrible thing. And this is coming from me. I very much so support people joining the military. I very much so support our veterans and active duty military and the reserves even. The fact of the matter is this. At the state of our nation right now, they're trying to get all of these new people into the military after they got rid of everybody that was in there over the shots. People didn't want to take those shots for that. You know what it's called. Okay, make sure that I'm trying to keep my stuff up on the thing because you know they like to take you off when you talk about them type of thing. Okay, so they tried to make everybody take them, you know, the things, and then they got rid of everybody that wasn't taking them in the military. They tried to push this stupid DEI, what do you call it? DEI, what's the other component of it? Some nonsense. Basically, training, discrimination, anti-discrimination training, bull jive. Okay, are you serious right now? Like, they're trying to make our military weak and woke, and that's exactly where we are right now. That's why they're so desperate to recruit. Because none of those weak woke people wanted to go in the military. You made all these extra changes to it just so it'd be weak and woke, and now nobody wants to go in there. They made our military weak on purpose. That's not a joke. That's dead serious. And I don't care what anybody got to say. They can catch hands. Okay, because that's a whole truth. And anybody that tells you otherwise is a liar. They're working purposefully to deceive you. This was done to make our nation much weaker so that they can do and lead our nation any which way. That's why we're less respected on the world stage. That's why all the power is going to China. They're out here talking about Russia when Russia is a smokescreen for people in power to use to make people in America not understand that the real people behind everything is China. China is behind all of this. All of this. You want to know why we're at war with Russia right now? China is the cause of it. Okay? China is the cause of our war with Russia. And you'll say, well, Marcus, Russia and China are allies. No, they're not. Russia tried to join NATO because this was years ago when Obama was president, because they saw the very serious nature of what was going on with China. Russia's just kind of playing nice with China right now because they have to. Because they can't fight a full-out war on really any front. They are just trying to desperately protect their own people and their own lands. And you'll say, well, Marcus, what about Ukraine? Well, Ukraine used to be part of Russia up until 1994. That's less than 30 years ago. Like, are you serious? And then it's got like 500 years of history before that. Are y'all serious? Like, are you really serious? Like, Ukraine just became a country. Just barely. And then it's sad, right? Because Ukraine has a rich, illustrious history, right? But a large portion of it is tied in with what do you call it? The oh my goodness, I know these things. Not the Russo Kiev, the Kiev Rush. Okay, it's but anyway, it's neither here nor there. I'm not trying to really get into Ukraine, but the fact of the matter is the only reason why Russia is trying to go into Ukraine is because they were committing war crimes and genocide against Russian people in eastern Ukraine. But we can't even talk about that. We can't talk about how there are active Nazis in Ukraine. We can't talk about that. You know, we can't talk about how the Zelensky government was killing Ukrainian men who didn't want to fight in the war because they felt that the war was unjust and they just felt like too many people were going to die and they didn't want to be a part of it. So they were out there killing them, killing their own men of the nation, not of the armed forces because they didn't want to be in the armed forces, but killing them. Like, is that okay? Can we not ever talk about that? You know, people are still crying that Ukraine needs resources and resources, but we're sending all these billions of dollars over there. Why they still need resources? Very clearly, there's some mismanagement at the top if they need all these resources that these people can't get on the ground. But we can't talk about that. Then you listen to big corporations talk about Ukraine like it's their piggy bank and what's the word? Own personal garden. You know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We had what's his face? What's the guy? Mitch McConnell. Not Mitch McConnell, the other one. Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham get on the TV and like, yeah, this is gonna they've got so much resources over there in Ukraine and we're giving them all this money because we're gonna get all these resources after the war and all this and all of that. Makes you really wonder what's going on over there. Now let me tell you that China was heavily invested in Ukraine before all of this happened. Yeah. China's heavily invested over there because, you know, China loves mineral rights. China loves farmland, and Ukraine has some of the most fertile farmland in all of Europe, in the world even. You know, outside of the U.S., I think they're the number 2 most fertile country in the world for farming land. It's really, really, really crazy that we can't have these very serious conversations, and Ukraine is just a distraction. And you wonder who's pushing it behind the back doors. It's China. I am telling you, it is China. So now to bring everything back in focus, what does China benefit from pushing a war over in Ukraine? Well, it destabilizes Russia, which is the closest near peer that China has that could possibly compete with them, okay, over there as far as any type of military. China already lays claim to a lot of eastern Russia. So at some point, they're going to try to annex that if it doesn't happen after Taiwan or before it. You understand what I'm saying? So China's on a war path, and they're going to be ready probably before the end of the year, maybe by next year, to go take Taiwan. They're ready, and this is real. And then they're going to come for parts of Russia and other parts of the South China Sea. It's going to be real. China's expansion is real serious. And they've got unrestricted warfare. That's what they call it, unrestricted warfare. They're going to get you by any means necessary. That's their whole thing. Ecological warfare, biological warfare. Okay, that's why we got to talk about that COVID stuff, right? Biological warfare. That's why we got to talk about those invasive fish, the invasive plants. Remember they sent all them seeds all around America? There's those seeds that were coming from China. And then the government was like, don't plant those seeds, burn those seeds. Those seeds are not good for our environment. They're invasive species. They're going to destroy our ecological stuff and stuff like that. Do y'all remember that? Go look it up. It happened. You might not remember it because it was just like a fly-by-night situation because it happened. And people just ignored it like it was not a big deal. That was a huge deal. That's warfare. But we don't get it. The bugs that are over here, the fish, the animals, even some of the animals now. You know, it's crazy. All of this is being pushed to destabilize us and hurt our economy and hurt our people and hurt our ecology and ability to produce food in the United States of America. But we can't have those conversations because they keep you so distracted with everything. Oh, there's 4 Russian ships in Cuba. I don't give a flying monkey's uncle. 4 Russian ships in Cuba. What is 4 Russian ships in Cuba gonna do? Nothing. One's a tugboat. One's basically a ship that's got basic armaments to fight other ships, and it's small and a teeny dingy. One's a real type of ship, and the other one is a submarine. There's submarines all over the world all the time at any given time. I don't know how many Russia has officially right now, but I feel like it's 11 or 14 or something like that we know about. I'm sure that it's more, but who's to say what level of condition and stuff that they're actually in, because the Cold War really messed up Russia and the collapse of the Soviet Union, which used to be Russia. The United Soviet States of Russia. Yeah, that was a thing. But most people in my generation, we weren't born during that time period, so we didn't even know it happened. And this is, we're talking, like I said, Ukraine got their freedom when the USSR collapsed, and that was 1994. That just happened. But can we have that conversation? So China is behind all of this. They're behind the open border policies and everything. Not to say that there aren't other nefarious groups, both within inside our country and outside of our country, that are also impacting other ways of chipping away at our supremacy across the world stage. Like China is part of BRICS, the Brazil, Russian, which one is the I? India, China, and South Africa are working together on divesting from the United States as far as using the currency, as well as also the diplomacy and prioritization of the U.S. interests. So that's happening on the world stage. Matter of fact, most of those countries, I don't know how many countries are in BRICS now. This is 18, maybe 32 now. I don't know. It's like 10 plus some, and other people want to sign up to be part, right? Like a lot of those nations were just at the G7 conference with Biden and the Pope. But on the last day, they did some, whatever they do, official writing thing where they say, oh, we agree on these things, or whatever the case is, or this is what we should go forward, or whatever. And the countries that were part of BRICS were like, no, we're not signing nothing. We're not signing nothing. So we really need to be aware of what's going on and who's manipulating everything in the back. Largely, it's China and the Chinese. That's why we have so many illegal Chinese coming through the southern border right now. They already had the West Coast on lock. They just be shipping people over in shipping containers. That's not a joke. Go look it up. Like every couple months, we'll find people, dead bodies, full of shipping containers full of dead bodies. That's a real thing. And they've been doing it for, I don't know, forever, right? So they already had that on lock. Now they're sending them through the southern border. So many Chinese coming through the southern border, And the southern border is so terrible, we can talk about all the other criminals that have come through there. The criminals from Venezuela, the Venezuelan gangs, the other South American gangs and stuff like that. And we could talk about all of that, but where does it stop, right? Like, we've got so many enemies as America right now. It's ridiculous. And we've got people inside our own nation trying to tear us down. We got these anti-American jihadists out there vandalizing the memorial of our World War II soldiers. Like, are you outside of your mind? Like, you can get your wig cap split back for that. Like, I don't understand how most of these people are still breathing and y'all let them walk around like it's okay. I don't get it. I don't get it. They need to be in jail, prison, or worse. Okay? We still execute people for treason. Come on now. Are we being real right now? Okay, these anti-American jihadists talking about, oh, we are pro-Palestine or whatever. You're a liar. You're a liar. You didn't know nothing about no daggone Palestine until last October. Come on now. Stop playing in my face. Okay? You didn't know nothing about them. They've been at war for, what? Essentially 75 years. Okay? Hey, y'all know nothing about them? Well, Marcus, it's really kind of only 65 years. I'm not about to play with you and your numbers. Okay? You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's so disgusting, it makes me want to spit. But regardless, we need to have this real conversation. We got these people inside our own country destabilizing our own country, but we can't have that conversation because people are going to tell you, oh, well, they're for Palestine. They're not for Palestine. They don't know what the heck they're for. They've been so brainwashed. I had this conversation with a black lady the other day who should definitely know better. It was a very irritating conversation. First of all, as a black American, we ain't got no business with no San people. Them San people don't like Americans and they don't like black people. And the majority of black Americans are Christian and they definitely don't like Christians. Okay? And everybody that associates everything with Palestine over there associates it with Islam. Okay? Can we be real? Don't none of them San countries like no Americans. Don't none of them San countries like black people. They don't even like melanated people. Look at how they treat the Africans over in them San countries. Are we being real right now? Look how they treat other dark-skinned Muslims in those countries. Are we being real right now? We can't even talk about all the Christian religious sites and in Palestine that got destroyed. We can't even talk about all the Christians over there that are destroyed, that have died, that have been killed during this. We can't talk about that, right? Because everybody is, oh, let me wear a kafika or whatever the hell it's called. Excuse my language. Heck, whatever the heck it's called. Don't really know, don't really care. Okay, because don't none of them people over there like none of us. And don't none of those people over here like none of us, and they from here. All of them can go over there. Every last single one of them can go over there. We don't want you here. You're destroying our monuments. You're desecrating the landmarks of our dead, okay, who valiantly gave their lives so that we can have a better tomorrow. Are you so serious right now? You're talking about America needs to die. They're talking about America needs to be overthrown. They're talking about death to America. They're talking about our country needs to be erased. Okay, they're talking about overthrowing our government. They need an intifada revolution, okay, which is an armed revolution against our government in favor of a foreign interest. Are you serious? Are you absolutely ever so serious? I gotta drink some water on that one because it got me a little hot. You know, can we be real? Can we be very real? Right now, we've got so much stuff going on in the news, in our country, to terrify us, that we're not able to focus on the real serious things that are going on. We talked briefly about the draft that's going on, that's coming. Let me talk about that draft for a second. You know why they're trying to draft people, aside from the fact that, aside from the fact that we keep messing with people we ain't got no business messing with? You know why they're trying to draft people? You know why they're trying to draft the men? Okay, the men that they made sure that they did everything to disenfranchise and push out of the military and stop them from entering the military during COVID and stuff like that. Okay, between the COVID things and the new woke DEI and other stuff, they're trying to get them to go in the military so they can send them overseas so they can't defend the homeland from all of these terrorists that they've pumped into our nation. All of these illegal aliens that are in this country, so-called asylum seekers, bogus nonsense, lies and deceit, okay? They're going to be used as a mercenary force against the American people, and they're going to have all our young men overseas so they can't even fight for their home. It's going to be worse than what happened when the Nazis took over France and Charles de Gaulle was trying to encourage his people to reconstitute over in Libya and then try to fight back against the Nazis from there into France. That's what's going to happen in our nation. People, wake up. Also, Charles de Gaulle was a very great military leader and strategician. I'm making up words right now. You know what I'm talking about, though. But he's a very, very great man. And one of the things is he was a great motivator, and he just wanted to encourage everybody so much to stand up and fight for their country. And that's what we need to do right now. And I'm not talking about going overseas. Shouldn't nobody, and again, I support the military very wholly, okay? Holy being all the way and holy not being Jesus, okay? I support Jesus very much as well. and the Lord our Father in heaven. However, none of our young men should be over here, and everybody should arm up. Go out, get your firearms license if you're in a state that requires one. Go buy ammunition and armaments so that you can defend yourself, your community, and stuff. Because the BS is coming. The BS is coming. Okay? And they want to divide us by race. They want to divide us by religion. They want us to divide us by everybody. But if you identify as an American, as a red-blooded American, okay, understand that they are trying to destroy our country. Okay? And they're trying to turn you against everybody else in the country so it's easier to do it. I want to say just the other day was I want to say maybe it was the 14th. I want to say it might have been the 14th of June. What was the remembrance of when Abraham Lincoln said, house divided cannot stand. You know? Like, this is real serious. They're dividing us intentionally. Now they want to get rid of our young men that could possibly help defend the homeland on our sovereign soil. Nah, man, I'm telling you, this is some BS. They're trying to send our boys all across the world so that they can't be home to help fight for our country. Lord bless. It's so frustrating. And I just want to encourage you all, like, if you see what's going on, if you see what's wrong, stand up and speak up. And don't be discouraged, and don't shut up about it at all. Because we have to speak up about these things. We have to encourage more people to talk about it, and not just to ourselves and to like-minded individuals. We need to be telling everybody what's really going on, because if we don't, it's going to happen. It won't be able to be averted if we don't let other people know. People have to stop being scared of how they're going to look or what other people might think, okay? We have to make sure that we're informing enough people that we can do something to change the course of what's going on here, because if not, we're going to be led to disaster and ruin, and nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming down out the sky, okay? No other country is coming to save us. We can't go anywhere. Mexico and Canada, they don't want us. They don't want their own people in Canada. They killing their own people off with medically aided induced death. They got that coming up here in New York State soon. They're trying to push that. These are the same people that want you to kill all the babies. They're going to push now to kill all the poor people and kill all the elderly. It's crazy, and the lame and the cripples. Okay? This is what they want. Like, you guys, you got to wake up and see what's going on. On a greater whole scheme of things, and I'm not going to make it like a worldwide thing. I'm going to speak specifically in terms of the United States. We've got depopulation going on, okay, purposeful. So bad that Chuck Schumer got up. Now, Chuck Schumer, if y'all know him at all, he's the one of the senators from my state. Chuck Schumer likes to talk about murdering all the babies all the time. He's like, oh yeah, just everybody should get an abortion. Abortions should be on the corner store. You should be able to abort the baby after the baby is born. All of this crazy stuff. Absolutely insane stuff. Okay? But he had the nerve to get up on the stage and say, oh, well, we need more illegal aliens because we're not having enough babies. Why aren't we having enough babies, Chucky? Why aren't we having enough babies? Maybe because you keep telling people to kill their babies? Like, you can't say that, bro. You can't say that. You can't be doing that. Long live the babies. Okay? All life to the great creator. And the fact that these children have been blessed with a soul to be able to be imparted upon this world. Okay? We shouldn't be out here to killing these babies. Definitely not 9 months into a pregnancy. Y'all outside your mind. Y'all monsters. Definitely not 9 months in. Late-term abortion in New York State is a very serious problem, and we can't even talk about the fact that that abortion is largely focused on depopulating and erasing Black Americans. But we can't have that conversation, even though we know that Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, said that she wanted to erase Black Americans out of the blood and fabric of this society in the United States of America. She said this out her mouth. She was a famous Nazi sympathizer, okay? And she was racist as all good get up. And you wonder why so many Planned Parenthoods are so close to Black neighborhoods. It's not by mistake. And then they'll tell you, well, it's reproductive health care. No, it's not. It's murder. Okay, it's murder, and it's intentional. It's intentional. And you know, the most of the people that complain the most about it, that try to rub it in your face, that it should be, men shouldn't talk about that, this, that, and the third, da 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 da. Well, if men shouldn't talk about that, maybe women shouldn't talk about war. Okay? If men shouldn't talk about that, maybe women shouldn't talk about cars. Okay? If men shouldn't talk about that, maybe women shouldn't talk about all types of other things that are men things. Why can't we talk about that? It's not like a woman could just magically get pregnant by herself. This ain't the Virgin Mary in this piece. Okay, it takes a father and a mother to create a child. Are you crazy? You know how many children are killed and the mothers don't even tell the fathers that they were with child? Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine the heart, if you've ever had a child, could you imagine the heart-wrenchingness if somebody just murdered your child and didn't tell you, you didn't never know that there was a child, that you had a child? You understand what I'm saying? Like, just the sheer intensity of that is very serious. But we can't talk about people in chastity. We can't talk about the importance of cohesive households. We can't talk about keeping your daggone legs closed. Because everybody's like, oh, we should do whatever makes us feel good. That ain't nothing but the devil. That ain't nothing but the devil. And they wonder why nobody wants to take responsibility for anything. If you're going to say that they shouldn't take responsibility for creating a life in this world, it's no wonder they don't want to take responsibility for their student loans. It's no wonder that people don't want to take responsibility for stealing all these cars or shooting these people or stabbing these people or doing all these crimes or stealing from these stores or anything like that. It's no wonder. Because the most important thing in the world, which is human life, the gift from the Lord himself, the gift from nature, the gift from the universe, whatever you want to call it, the most precious thing in the world, you've relegated to nothing, as if it's not important at all. Maybe you should have been aborted. Maybe you shouldn't have been born. You want to go delete yourself right now? Go ahead. More power to you. Okay? But when you're talking about taking the life before the life has even had time to really fully materialize into a whole adult, that's wrong. Next, you're going to be saying, yeah, we should just get rid of all of the people in poverty. Oh, wait. They're already doing that in New York State. They're encouraging that. That's why they're pushing this medically aided induced death. That's why they're saying, oh, well, all the poor people should be able to have abortions, because why would you want your child to grow up poor? Are you serious? You eugenicist. You Nazi scum. How dare you say something like that? If that's where your mindset is, Hitler was ahead of his time. It's disgusting. It makes me want to spit. Women's reproductive health care. Bogus terminology used to get you to murder children. It's one thing to do it, right? It's one thing to be for it, but it's another thing to deny what is actually happening. And then again, is New York State is where I live. It's probably never going to change until we, I don't know, return morals and dignity to our society. We got a long way to go there. First, we got to restore Jesus and the Lord our Father into American fabric of society, because that's how we've been able to be so successful as a nation thus far. But we can't talk about that, because when they started to take Jesus and the Lord and the Bible out of schools and out of the court system and everything like that, stuff started to go awry really quickly. But we can't talk about that, because they don't want you to talk about Jesus. They don't want you to talk about the Lord. There's a bill that they just put through Congress. I don't know if it got out of the Senate yet, but essentially it makes speaking about Jesus a anti-Semitic hate crime if you talk about Jesus, or if you say that the Jews played part in the death of Jesus. Okay? So this is a serious nature of society that we're living in right now. And so all my friends out there that are Jewish, y'all know that's wrong. Y'all know that's not right at all. But where are so many of you that know better to stand up? And I use that as a point to talk more about things like happened during COVID. If you had too many cars in your driveway, they were turning you in for that. If you were to post something online, they'll shut you down and blacklist your account. If you talked about the election and the fact that there was malfeasance with the election, they'd shut you down. Can't talk about ballots, can't talk about machines, can't talk about none of that. They'll shut you down. They'll still shut you down today about that. I live in a county where almost every year the Democrats are suing other Democrats about the vote tallies and stuff like that. So we've been Democrat here for 50 years, solely run by Democrats. The state legislature in New York has been all Democrat supermajority since 75 years. So if they're fighting with each other over the authenticity of ballots, maybe there's some there. But they switched the language from, oh, there was no, what do they call it? No voter, you know what they said it was, to, oh, well, there was no widespread voter, you know what it is. Okay? Because the little words matter, right? And each word lets you get an excuse more and more and more. But we can't actually talk about the things because we got to be scared that we're going to be shut down, we're going to be disenfranchised, or whatever the case is. That time is over, bro. During COVID, they were trying to put people in jail for going to attend church. Are y'all seriously not awake right now? What do you think they'll do next time? Like, it's coming too. Because if you see what's happening right now with the bird flu and them killing all of the chickens and them killing all of the what do you call them? All the cows and stuff like that. You wonder why the egg prices are going up so high? You wonder why the meat's going up so high? It's because they're trying to do this on purpose intentionally, because like what they said before, they want you to eat the bugs. They want you to eat the manufactured fake meat that they grew in a lab. They told you what they're doing. I don't know why you're not listening to them. And it's not like this is some secret conspiracy theory or something. This is what these people like Bill Gates, what's the other guy's name? George Soros and the Open Society people have been pushing. Nicole Kidman got on the TV eating the bugs, and a whole bunch of other stars were eating the bugs and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely abhorrent. I need to drink water. So frustrated, y'all. But this is why we must speak up, right? This is why we must stand firm in the conviction that we have been given internally, because we feel it. You can feel that something is wrong. I don't even care if you are on the left side. You can see that a lot of this stuff ain't right. Now, realistically, the biggest issue is so many people just want to be a part of something, feel like they're a part of something. That's why they're gravitating to these Palestine things or BLM or the Antifa or all this other nonsense, because they lack the Lord within them. Y'all need a personal relationship with the Lord, and I pray that you guys actually are able to seek Jesus and are willing to seek Jesus and go read the Bible, okay, and the teachings and philosophies of Jesus, so that you can draw closer to our Father in heaven, because he wants a personal relationship with you. That's why he sent Jesus to die for our sins, so that even if we have spurned him in the past, because we are all sinners, every one of us, even if we have done things bad in the past, that we too can be forgiven. That's why he sent Jesus as a sacrifice for all of us. That's why Jesus overcame death and returned to teaching, okay? Because we needed that sacrifice, and we needed to know that there is life after death, so that we can be saved and we can be eternally kept with our Father in heaven, and not be reconciled to having to be cast into hell for eternal damnation. Like, that stuff is real. Like, we can't talk about it because people don't want to talk about it. We could go back to the abortion thing, where it's nothing but baby sacrifices, and the Satanists, what do you call them? Was it not the Church of Satan? No, it's called something else. The Satanic Temple, right? Like, they opened their own abortion clinics because they use the babies as child sacrifices. Like, it's crazy. And they say it's a religious practice, so it's okay. Y'all be careful who y'all out here sleeping with. Wrap it up. Aside from all of these diseases and stuff going on, there's people out there that will purposefully get pregnant with your child just to kill it intentionally. Okay, so it's real serious out here. We need to be able to have that conversation. But on top of that, it's so bad because now we got all these crazy sexually transmitted diseases, and we got all these homes that are broken homes, single parent homes, no father in the household. Okay, mothers keeping the fathers from the children, all this crazy stuff. All of these alphabetizers wanna have these children, okay, and that's a whole separate conversation, okay. I saw this guy. Let me rephrase that. I saw this girl that wanted to be a guy, taking all these hormones and stuff, and was pregnant with a child. Lord bless that child, because I don't even know what them hormones going to do to that poor baby. That poor baby's going to be all jacked up. But, and then they out there trying to act like the father, which is really trying to be a woman, can be a chest feeder or whatever the hell that nonsense is. Excuse me, whatever the heaven that nonsense is. Are we being real right now? We can't talk about that though. We can't talk about that at all. But we need to be able to talk about that. We need to be able to talk about that insanity and that level of evil openly and condemn it. That's wrong, y'all. Like, that's sick and wrong. You want to paddle somebody on the behind in your nighttime in your nocturnal activities, that's fine. When you up here running all types of hormones trying to convince me that a woman is a man and a man is a woman, absolutely not. Okay? Absolutely not. I'm not going with that nonsense. And you can't make me. But they're trying to force you to accept that insanity. Otherwise, they're talking about they're going to silence you, or they're going to try to deplatform you, or they'll talk bad about you, or they'll try to say that you're homophobic. Man, ain't nobody scared of gay people. What are you talking about? I got lots of gay friends, and even, I guess, what do you call them? She-male associates, guys that are have their wedding tackle and boobs, right? Like, that's a she-male, right? Like, I don't know. I think that's what you call them. Now they call them all transgenders, right? But if you're not cutting your wedding tackle off, you're not fully committed, go all the way. Go all the way. If you're really committed, go all the way. Otherwise, you're not. At least in Thailand, like the lady boys, right? Like, they know that they're not girls, and they'll tell you. They're like, are you a man or a woman? They're like, no, I'm a lady boy. If you ever seen any interviews with them, you know, I was just watching, somebody was doing a comparison to the culture in relation to transgenders in America and the culture of ladyboys in Southeast Asia. And the stark differences are crazy. You know, starting off from the fact that ain't none of them over there bearded, full-blooded men that are cross-dressing talking about they're a woman. Disgusting, makes me want to spit. And this is the problem. There used to be a day and age in America where men that wanted to be more like women would actually try to look like women. Now everybody out here dressed like clowns, got makeup on like they clowns, right? Like, not even good makeup, not good contours, not none of that. Okay, look like a whole man, like Miss Swan said from Mad TV. Look like a man. Okay, talking about you a woman, and you want me to believe that. Okay, I'm glad that Leah Thomas got kicked out of the Olympics. Okay, talking about talking about she's a girl when she's a whole man. Okay, when she went through full puberty. Okay, get out of town, whole man. Talking about, I want to compete in the Olympics as a woman. The rest of the world said, you better not, because the rest of the world got it together. They ain't crazy like the Western world. Okay, ain't nobody over there going for none of that, and Africa definitely ain't having it. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And the crazy part is that people want you to participate in the psychosis. I'm not having none of it. It's wrong. And it's deleterious to us having a productive society. You want to talk about low birth rates? Somehow, with all of the hypersexualization in the world, people feel so much distant from each other, and they don't even go outside, that nobody's having sex. How is that possible? We see sex on the TV and on the news and on the radio and in the music and in the everything all the time. How is it possible people are having sex less now than ever? It's crazy because everybody feels disconnected because everything's about everything online and is being manipulated and curated and all of this nonsense. And because people don't know themselves and know who they are as individuals. So it breaks up into two large factions and then everybody else kind of falls in somewhere in the middle. It's the people that are out here whoring, okay? And it's the people that are out here that are so detached that they feel so empty that they don't even engage with anybody. Okay? And then in the middle somewhere, you got a couple of people, okay, that somewhere fit in between some of the other categories, like normal heterosexual relationships and normal relationships and even some sexual relationships. Not that I'm saying that that's a good thing or not. I believe that you should stay virgin until marriage, and chastity is important, especially if you see all these diseases out here, which they got some new disease now, like sexually transmitted ringworm or something like that. That's crazy. Like, that's a crazy thing. Like, how you get something like that? Like, where'd that come from? Like, and that's not even to talk about like the chlamydia and the gonorrhea that doesn't go away now, that you can't change, and then you got all of the herpes and all of that nonsense and crazy stuff like that. Also, y'all, cold sores are herpes. Okay, so remember that. Be careful who y'all drinking and eating off of. Cold sores are herpes. All right, that's it. Okay, so if we're going to rebuild a strong country, we need to rebuild a strong people. The only way to rebuild a strong people is to make sure that people know what a man and what a woman is. To make sure that we restore our belief and our faith in the Bible, in our Father in heaven above, and restore our faith in Jesus Christ, who is our Lord and Savior, who was sent by our Father to die for our sins and be resurrected so that we may have a chance to be refined and return to the Lord our Father, to break the chains of sin which have condemned us to death, so that we still may have everlasting life with our Father. But we need to return to the Bible. We need to bring the Bible back, okay? We need to make that one of our core focal tenets, because that's where we get the morals and the values and everything that's been set out in our nation. That's why we've been so prosperous, because we know the Lord. We used to, at least, but now he's been taken out of everything. We've got to restore the family. The nuclear family has to be restored. Okay? That has to happen. If we don't, we're going to continue to be a weak people. Now, we have to have more children. We do. Stop killing the children. Stop having children out of wedlock. Let's stop that. Let's make having children out of wedlock not okay again. Let's make having sex out of wedlock not okay again. Okay? Let's make staying a virgin until you're married okay again. Let's make marriage again. How about that? Can we do those things? Because that's how we're going to build a strong society. In countries where you see that all of those things are intact, they have a much stronger culture and society. It's very, very dreadfully important that we return to that. Because if we don't, all is going to be lost. And again, nobody is coming to save us. But we've got so many things working against us right now in our nation. We've got the elites that are on the top of the pyramid that are doing everything to split and divide us up. Okay, we've got foreign adversaries that are working to split and divide us up. And they're working in tandem together. It's not that they're working together. Some of them are working together. But it's not that they're working together. It's that they're all working for their own best interest, and their best interest just so happens to align against the American people. We just had Juneteenth just passed, right? And this is important, so y'all buckle up. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, or wherever, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. The YouTube channel is the Marcus C. Williams channel. The Rumble channel is the Marcus C. Williams channel. Like and subscribe. Okay. We're on X at Marcus the digit 4 ROC. That's Marcus the digit 4 ROC. Or you can type Marcus C. Williams. You'll find me on there. Okay, we're on Facebook, Marcus C. Williams, the number 4 Rochester. You'll find me. You'll see Marcus C. Williams too. You'll find me. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Okay, especially if you're on YouTube and Rumble. That's how we get to reach more people. Okay, and if you guys want to sponsor, do a sponsorship of the show or whatever the case is, email me marcuswilliams222@gmail.com, and let's get back into it. But reminder, you're listening to The Divide on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. If you listen to us on the radio, make sure you let everybody you know. Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m., turn on the radio, 106.3, and listen to The Divide. Marcus C. Williams. All right, so as we move forward to the really, really important part and the crescendo moment, we've got a lot of stuff going on in our country right now. The enemy is not just at the gates, it's inside the gates. And that's why we have to come together and fight to save our nation. We have an election coming up this year. Are you a poll inspector or election inspector? Election worker? Poll worker. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Poll worker, not them other things. Go be a poll worker. Go sign up with your local board of elections, no matter where you are in the country. Go sign up with them. Go be a poll worker or a site manager. Okay? That's what we need more of. Okay? Especially if you're Republican or conservative. We need way more of those. Okay? That's very dreadfully important. But we have a very serious election coming up. Okay? Aside from the presidential election, we have local elections coming up. There are many state Congress seats coming up for the House of Representatives, the people that make those crazy federal laws that we don't like and put our money in crazy places we don't like. We got state assembly and state senate coming up, okay, for the vast majority of the states across the nation. Here in New York, we got the state assembly and the state senate coming up. I'm actually running for state assembly. If you guys want to donate to my campaign, please go to www.marcus4rochester.com. That's www.marcus4rochester.com, the number 4. Okay, and definitely donate. Drop something in the kitty, okay, because everything helps, because we've really got to defeat these terrible policies that are harming not just our community, but our nation. And we need more good people to get into office who prioritize community first, who prioritize citizens first, and who make sure that they're refocusing the direction our country is going. Because the division is too much, and we've got division for division's sake. Okay, that's the only reason why we have it, because they try to make us so tribal against each other that we're not able to see that it's really the people at the top that are against all of us, which is crazy, because a lot of the leftists will say, oh, well, it's the big corporations that are the problem. It's the people at the top and the corporations, the CEOs and stuff like that. But somehow they fail to notice that it is the elites and the extremely wealthy that are the ones that are turning them against their other common man. Like, I don't get that. That doesn't make sense to me. But that's something that we can point out to them. Okay, hopefully if you're listening and that is now you can think about that yourself. But as we go into this election season, more and more crazy stuff is going to happen. I'd say it's very strongly likely that there are some sort of crazy attacks or serious attacks in our nation that happen, that they use to declare war on another country, and they try to use the draft to take people, to take our young men, and they use that as a way to usher in more surveillance and strip more of our rights and freedoms. And I just pray that it doesn't happen. I pray that I'm wrong. But the writing is really on the wall. If we don't unite now, there's not going to be any way for us to stop it, because it's coming. It's very clearly coming. It doesn't matter whether you're on the left or you're on the right or whatever, or you're in the middle somewhere. Everybody can see it. Nobody's blind. Like, none of us, well, I mean, somebody somewhere is all about gung-ho about war, but the majority of us are not. Okay? But y'all got to see that the war is against the American people, and it's time for us to stand up and unite together. You know, some people might have different ideologies and everything like that, but that's why they try to turn people against the American flag and stuff like that. I want to get into talking about Juneteenth, which just happened the other day, which is actually coming up. It depends on how you count it, right? Because Juneteenth is really a period of time when General, oh my goodness, what's his name? Gordon. Something Gordon. General something Gordon. I can't remember his first name. Anyway, he went down to Texas to make sure all of the people that were in slavery in Texas knew that they were free. Okay, that's a very, very important part of our American history. Now, if you look at the flag that's used to represent the Juneteenth, it's red, white, and blue because it's an all-American holiday, people. It's not a Pan-African holiday. It's not an African or Caribbean holiday. It's an all-American holiday. And people say, oh, well, it's for black people or whatever. Are you saying that black people aren't Americans? Black people, black Americans are some of the only true Americans left. Okay? Black Americans are some of the only true Americans left. Outside of us being indigenous people, there's only very few of those other Native Americans. I use the term loosely because a lot of them ain't. Okay? They whiter than the driven snow, talking about they Native American. Okay? But didn't want to discount us and our indigenous lineage, but we're not going to talk about that, even though it's well documented in the Library of Congress, in historical record, in the censuses, and in the stuff relating to all of the population and stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there. But the point is it's an all-American holiday. Okay? It's not about the Caribbean or African stuff. That's why you see all this red, black, and yellow and green nonsense, or the African flag. It's time to put that Pan-African nonsense to bed, okay? Put it in the ground where it belongs. We are Americans. We are all Americans. We are from and of America. We did not come here on no slave ships, okay? We are not from Africa. Even if you look, actually go up and do some research, I encourage you to do it. If you go and do some research for the numbers that they have for the transatlantic slave trade, didn't nobody come over to America, not the United States, from the transatlantic slave trade like they would try to make you think. Okay? But they try to use that to make you think that that's there, right? If that was the case, why did Andrew Jackson need to do the Trail of Tears and the Indian Removal Act? Come on now, think with your brain, okay? Let's be really real, okay? Let's be really real. But people don't want to do that because everything in our nation largely has been whitewashed because it's just another way to separate us and to rob black people of our birthright, which is this nation. Okay, because if you think that you're from Africa, you'll be like, oh, I'm African. Don't nobody know nothing about no daggone Africa. Don't not one of y'all know where in Africa, nobody family in Africa, no nothing. All them genealogy tests, the 21andMe, 23andMe, all them nonsense, okay? At Ancestry.com, turn in your DNA, you can put the daggone lizard's DNA on there, and it'll say that it's from all parts of the world. Come on now, stop playing. And a lot of you have seen those things online where the people do the tests and they do the genetic tests, and they use the animals or something, and it says the animal is this, it's from these people, it's from this people. It's crazy. There's this Korean guy online the other day, and he did a test, and it said that he was like Choctaw Indian or something like that. I can't remember. Maybe one of the Cha names. I can't remember, but it said that he's like mostly that, and he's like, I don't get it. He said, I'm from Korea. My whole family's from Korea. I've grown up in Korea. I've always been in Korea. All my family is from Korea. How is that even possible? Well, but that's the point. Those tests are not even real at all. But they've convinced people that they are. It's a bunch of malarkey and nonsense. How much DNA would you need from one or any given area to make such a judgment? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, don't play in our face. That's just another way for them to collect your DNA because you're giving it up freely. And if you read the Ancestry.com stuff about giving up your DNA, it's crazy. There was a lawyer who read it and then sued the company over it because essentially it says that it gives them the permission to have your genetic sequence and your genetic code forever in perpetuity and do anything with it that they want, meaning they could even make clones of you or manipulate clones of you, all types of stuff. And that's insane. This is real. That's a real thing. You can go look that up. That's fun. Not really, but yeah. And it's something that we have to realize. And that going back to the Juneteenth and how it's an all-American celebration, that's why the flag is red, white, and blue. It's not a black holiday, people. It's an American holiday. General Gordon was white as the day is long. And I'm not talking about like these Euro white people. I'm talking about like American white, which there's not many of them left. So it really offends me when I see people that are like, oh, I'm American, and then talking about that black people aren't of America. We the only real Americans left. There are very few actual white Americans from colonial or pre-colonial time still here. They've been replaced largely by Europeans. Okay, so I don't know what y'all talking about. We're about, if you want to defend and protect American lineage, we're all you guys got left. So y'all need to unite with us. Like, I don't get that. That never made any sense to me. Next week I'll talk about David Duke and him and that Nick Fuentes nonsense dude. But anyway, speaking of the Juneteenth situation and how it's an all-American holiday, all of this Pan-Africanism is crazy, right? Because you get that from around Marcus Garvey time, you know, like 1917, around that time, something like that. Okay, where you get all these crazy people talking about, oh, we're from Africa, we're from Africa, we're of Africa, or whatever. No, we're not. Then they had the nerve to tell like people like Marcus Garvey, who wasn't a black American, who was from Jamaica and never went to Africa and died in England. Okay, was funded and bankrolled by all these white racists to tell black Americans that they need to go back to Africa. Can you believe that? Could you imagine if a white person told a black person to go back to Africa? But here goes this person that's not even a black American telling black Americans to go back to Africa. Why don't you take your old behind back to Africa? He ain't even ever been to Africa and died in England. And look. Let me not get started on him. Okay. I love Marcuses that make Marcuses look good. He was a Marcus that make Marcuses look bad. I can't deal with him. Okay. But regardless, with the direction that we're going, we have to remember that we're all in this together. You know, what did they say? What was it said? Who was it that said that quote? I don't remember. But it's a great quote by one of our founding fathers. We'll either all hang together or we'll all hang separately. And that's what's going to happen. Right now, that's the direction. We got to unite together as Americans to stand up for America and our nation. And that's whether you're American of pre-colonial origin, a new American, okay, or you're here for a couple of generations American. If you consider yourself an American, we need to be joining together because the people at the top of the pyramid are doing everything they can to crush us and to divide us so that they can gain more power and riches and wealth. And that's something that the left talks about all the time, and that's something that the right talks about all the time. I don't understand. We've got so much similarities. Why can't we do the things that are important to work on the issues with the similarities and then fight over the intricacies later? You understand what I'm saying? This is what we need to do. It is time for us to unite together. Because if we do not, we're going to lose everything. The world government is against us. The UN, the World Economic Forum, all those other big players over there in Western Europe, they're all against the American citizens. The Chinese are, all of them. The people at the top of the pyramid, the ultra wealthy, all of them are. Even the majorly wealthy are against us as well because it serves them and their own purposes. That's why we as the people, as the everyday common people, okay, that's why it's the working class, the middle class, those in poverty, and the lightly just nouveau riche, lightly wealthy type of people that really need to unite together. The true Americans need to unite together because they ain't out here for none of us. They gonna come for all of us. So we either stick together and we all hang together or we all hang separately. And trust and believe they're coming for all those leftists and crazy people out here destroying stuff and pushing for this nonsense and the degradation of our nation, and the pro-Palestinian, Antifa people, and the BLM people, and all of the people like the AOCs, and where I live in the Stanley Martins, and the rest of those people that are all these crazy leftists, they're coming for y'all first. Y'all need to see it best. They're coming for y'all. They're going to get y'all before they get us, because you're going to be no longer of any use once they get what they want. Pay attention. Wake up. And I encourage you guys, make sure that you get active in a campaign of somebody who is truly America first this year on your local level. Help them help their campaign. Somebody that's concerned about your community, the issues facing your community, the educational quality, the cost of living, the housing crisis, the elderly, stuff like that. Please get active, because this year we need all hands on deck so we can make a difference. And if you want to help out with my campaign, definitely go to my website, Marcus, the number 4, rochester.com. That's www. Make sure you put the www there. Marcus4rochester.com. Donate and volunteer. You don't even have to be in the area to do either. Okay? And I encourage you all, get active. And remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You be blessed and be well. I'll catch you next Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. Thank you for listening to The Divide. Y'all be blessed and be well. Stay strong. Time to unite. All right, you guys. Catch you later.